Hey, what is going on, guys? So today we have a very different video than usual. We will be talking about the details of an upcoming court case concerning the, in my view, completely justified rescue of 3 beagles from one of the largest beagle breeding and research facilities in the United States, Ridgeland Farms, which can be found in Dane County near Madison, Wisconsin. This trial has the potential to set a legal precedent regarding whether or not animals can legally be deemed, quote, others or legal persons. If this were to go through, the animal rescuer's actions can be deemed legally necessary to prevent greater harm, and by extension, other instances in which animal activists rescue animals from extremely cruel conditions. The rescuers will be facing felony burglary and theft charges. The jury trial begins on March 18th in Madison, Wisconsin, and is expected to last 1 to 2 weeks. If the 3 co-defendants are convicted, they could face up to 16 years in prison. Up to 16 years in prison for rescuing animals from animal cruelty. Imagine that. It is because of all of this that I consider it very important for me to cover the contents of this trial, as well as ways in which you can get involved yourself, which, by the way, I will be sharing at the end of this video. The 3 co-defendants facing trial are Wayne Shung, Eva Hamer, and Paul Picklesheimer. The events this trial are concerned with go as far back as April in 2017. Before talking about the specifics of this rescue, I want to talk a little bit about the kind of work that Ridgeland Farms has done with beagles. Beagles are considered to be a very friendly breed of dogs. The American Kennel Club, who is recognized and trusted for information related to breed, health, and training information for dogs, describes beagles as happy-go-lucky, funny, and equipped with an inherently trusting nature. These traits, which constitute an overall docile nature, act as one of the main reasons that beagles are used in brutal experimentation. They're very unlikely to fight back. I'm going to describe one example of this brutal experimentation, so just a warning that this is going to be a little bit graphic, just verbally. So if you would like to skip this section, pause now and go to this timestamp. An example of one of these brutal experiments is one where dogs were force-fed commercial laundry detergent to the point of vomiting for hours, often with blood, only to eventually die. Not only are the experiments beagles from Ridgeland Farms are sold for cruel, but the conditions they are raised in are also cruel. The state and federal governments have documented improper housing conditions described by federal inspectors in 2006 as dirty and potentially dangerous animal housing conditions, yet no enforcement action has ever been taken. Despite these conditions, from 2005 to 2007, Ridgeland Farms sold 11,404 animals and grossed over $7 million in sales. This lack of enforcement seems to be very typical in a lot of this industry. The USDA's own Inspector General has described fines imposed on laboratories for animal welfare organizations to be, quote, basically meaningless. And despite internal criticisms like this, the USDA has not increased its level of enforcement. In fact, in 2017, they abruptly removed inspection reports for thousands of facilities from public databases. Following this, in the year 2018, there was only one single complaint for cruelty for the tens of millions of animals used in research. This lack of enforcement and removal of inspections from public databases help facilitate animals at places like Ridgeland Farms endure cruelty rather than enforced welfare. After the 2017 abrupt removal of inspection reports for thousands of facilities, the animal rights organization Direct Action Everywhere decided to take action. And here is an exact quote from the memorandum created for mass distribution concerning this case. Quote, in April 2017, just a few weeks after the Washington Post reported on the purging of public animal welfare records, activists walked through an unlocked door at Ridgeland Farms to document the conditions inside. They found hundreds of beagles stacked in small, filthy cages. Many had untreated infections or wounds. Some were suffering from such torment that they were exhibiting psychotic behaviors, such as endlessly spinning in the cage. The facility was a factory farm for dogs. Continuing, as alarms blared across the facility, the activists removed 3 beagles from their cages, including a blind puppy who appeared on the brink of physical and psychological collapse, and then openly shared their actions with the world. A Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist published a long-form investigative report with the activists' findings. The activists also submitted a complaint to the local authorities, alleging violations of the Federal Animal Welfare Act and the state's animal cruelty law, Wisconsin Statute Section 951.02. Still, the government did not even investigate the allegations of animal cruelty at Ridgeland Farms. Instead, 4 years later after the rescue, the government pursued charges against the activists. In August 2021, the district attorney of Dane County, Ishmael Ozan, filed charges of felony burglary and felony theft against Wayne Shung, Eva Hamer, and Paul Picklesheimer for their actions at Ridgeland Farms in April of 2017. Now, to give a little commentary of my own on situations like this is not the first time Wayne Shung has faced legal charges for attempting to help animals. Last November, Wayne was found guilty of 1 felony and 2 misdemeanor charges in connection with chicken farm protests in 2018 and 2019. I commented on this, and what I said back then applies even more to this trial. I said, thrown in prison for trying to free abused animals for something far worse than a prison, a factory farm, a place where animals endure unimaginable suffering. This is a clear case of compassionate actions being unjustly criminalized. This case highlights a disturbing disconnection between the legal system and the moral good of protecting these innocent creatures. A new legal precedent needs to be set. The fact that we live in a world where somebody can be legally prosecuted for doing something as virtuous as protecting and rescuing animals from literal hell on earth is insane. The case mentioned in November had to do with chickens. This one has to do with dogs, a species of animals that non-vegans are much more conditioned and ready to protect. Dog lovers already agree that if a dog has a caretaker who is abusing them consistently, the dog should very quickly be taken away from this abusive caretaker and be put in the hands of a more loving environment. I see no reason to think why we shouldn't apply the same reasoning to situations like what beagles suffer at Ridgeland Farms. In my view, an animal being, quote, legally considered your property should not give you the right to raise them in whatever abhorrent conditions you please. And animals raised in these conditions should have every right to be rescued. We should be prosecuting animal cruelty, not animal rescue from animal cruelty. As stated at the beginning of this video, this legal case concerning Ridgeland Farms has the potential to change the legal precedent concerning the legal status of animals and by extension the right to rescue animals from abhorrent conditions. If you would like to help bring this issue to the public, please consider the following actions. Of course, like, comment, and share this video around, but most importantly, and what I'm about to read is from the memorandum for this case. On March 18th, the first day of the trial, supporters of the defendants of this case will be organizing a day of social media action and phone calls. Quote, animal advocates across the nation are demanding that the Dane County District Attorney, Ishmael Ozan, prosecute animal cruelty instead of animal rescue. At stake, however, is not only the defendant's freedom, but whether we, as a society, will continue to betray the dogs and other animals who love us most. On March 18th, the first day of the trial, supporters of the beagles and defendants will be organizing a day of social media action and phone calls. The theme of the day will be, the dogs who love us most have been betrayed. It's time to correct that wrong. We'll be encouraging everybody on that day to make a phone call, send an email, make a social media post, or otherwise contact Ishmael Ozan and the lead prosecutor, Alexandra Keys, demanding that they serve the public's interest rather than cover up for an abusive industry. With enough public support, we can not only compel the authorities to save all the Ridgeland beagles, but harness the narrative momentum of the trial to end the use of dogs in experiments entirely. For more information, I will be linking the memorandum I based this video on in the description and pinned comment of this video. Alright guys, that's the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you support my work and want to get early access to it, you can click the link in the pinned comment and support me on Patreon. And if you don't know, I do have a book going over most, if not all, of the anti-vegan arguments you're going to hear online. If you want to get that as well, that'll be linked in the pinned comment. Lastly, there are 2 links below for vegan protein powder and vegan merch, both of which, if you purchase, will help support the channel. And I'll see you in the next video.